Welcome back to my channel. I will say, if you're gonna film a YouTube and a TikTok in the same day, film the YouTube first. Okay, because that TikTok camera will lie to you. Make you believe your skin is clearer than what it is. You can see all the spots. Okay, I just drew attention to it. Okay, anywho, let's talk about the books that I just finished reading. Not just, the books that I read. I finally finished Deep End, y'all. I was supposed to read this in March, and I finished it in April. I finished it weeks ago. I just haven't talked about it, and I didn't make a video last week, or any videos last week, actually. But I finally finished Deep End. The best thing about Deep End was the sprayed edges. I'm just kidding. That was so rude. That was so rude. No, but for real, so let me read the back and see if it tells you, because I don't want to give you any spoilers, okay? So it kind of tells you that they have an arrangement. So basically Scarlett and Lucas is in some arrangement because her friend Penelope told them, hey, you two are both into BDSM, you should be together, or at least you should fuck, essentially. And so obviously they decided to do it, and they're end up falling in love. My issue with this was most of the romances I read, while there are some cutesy romances, they're either like contemporary romance or YA romance. This is a contemporary romance. However, I felt like it read more YA for me. I don't know, it was just the writing style. It was very like playful and whimsical, and I guess I wasn't expecting that. And so in the beginning I had a hard time getting into it, and I was like, girl, not every romance needs to break your heart like a Kennedy Ryan book does, you know what I mean? And so I had to reel myself back in. But it was also at a time where I was in the biggest slump. I said that before, in March. I was in the biggest slump of my life, and so every book I picked up, I was just obliterating, okay? And so this just happened to be one of them. Overall, when I finished it, I was like, it wasn't a bad book. It just took me a long time to even like get to the place where I even cared about it. I genuinely felt like at first I was not understanding how they were both developing feelings for each other. It felt very surface level to me. And so I was like, I know they're supposed to end up together, but I'm not getting it. I'm not getting the interaction or the attraction between the two. It just feels like you're forcing something that isn't there. That's what it felt like to me. Honestly, if they like would have ended the book just being fuck buddies, I would have been okay with that as well. I will say they do have similar interests as far as what they want to do with their life, as far as them being athletics who are on the general swimming team, and they're both into biology, but obviously they both kind of wanted to go into the medical field. So I understood that being similar, but again, I didn't feel like there was a attraction other than purely physical, but I guess it made it work. It was fine. It was fine. I had to switch the audiobook halfway through, less than halfway through. I was like, if I don't read this via audio, I'm not gonna finish it. I'm gonna be quite frank, because I wasn't interested enough to pick up the book. It was okay. Ultimately, I thought the book was okay. And I've heard somebody say this is Ali Hazelwood's best book, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I will say I would give her books another try because it wasn't horrible. Again, the writing was just different than what I expected. I'm expecting profound, and it doesn't need to be all the time, okay? Not all love is deep, and you know, I'm gonna shut up. I also read My Sister the Serial Killer. Both of these were buddy reads with Ange. Ange and I buddy read a book every month, maybe 2 a month, but we also read this one. And again, like I told my husband, I need to start doing my research on what the book is about before going into the book, okay? Now, I knew this was a thriller, but starting off, I was like, oh, this writing is like all over the place. I don't know what's happening. We're jumping from one scene to the next. And I kind of mentioned that in one of my vlogs. It just felt all over the place to me. And I was very confused. I was like, what are we talking about? Like, I knew what we were talking about, obviously, but it just felt like somebody was in my head. Like, I have lots of random thoughts and I sometimes say it out loud. Most times I say it out loud, okay? My husband has to backtrack a lot and be like, okay, babe, you're getting off topic. What are we talking about? And it just felt like someone threw all their thoughts out there, didn't care about sentence structure. Well, not really sentence structure of the book, how it flowed. It felt to me like it was just random thoughts. And so at first I was like, I don't know. It was easy to read because the chapters were short. Like, genuinely, that's a chapter, and there were some that was just one page. So it was easy to like fly through the book, very easy to read, very quick. However, yeah, it felt like all over the place. But again, when I looked it up after, because I was like, I was telling Ange, this feels like satire. Like, this cannot be serious, because if it's serious, this is not very thrilling. It's not great. And so I looked it up, and it is considered a satire, and it's considered dark comedy, thriller. And I was like, that makes so much sense. You should really know what a book is about before going into it. I try to go into every book blind, but the problem I've found with that is, one, I expect there to be a thrill to all books. I've noticed that I do that. I have read a general fiction once and thought it was a thriller. Genuinely. Like, and I was expecting a thrill, and I was like, girl, this is not good. And then I was like, well, bitch, because mind your manners, Sheldina. I was like, well, that's because it's not meant to be thrilling. So I find that if I don't know the genre of a book, I compare it to thrillers. I needed to have some sort of thrill, and that is wrong. And so I was like, I may not need to know exactly what the plot of the book is, but you should know what the genre is and what the general premise of the book is before going into it, because I was really like, this is the most unserious thriller I've ever read in life. And quite literally, it's meant to be unserious. So all in all, it wasn't bad. Even with it being satire, I still feel like it could have been structured better. The characters were all frustrating, but I find that that's the case in satirical novels or parodies, and I'm not a parody kind of girl, but that tends to be the case, right? All characters are goofy, they make dumb decisions, everybody is kind of like ditzy. So it made sense. It wasn't bad. Both of these books were okay in my opinion. And yes, I would read something by each one of the authors again. I would like to see a more serious thriller, because this is my first one by her. I would like to see a more serious thriller from her. I read Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and it's about this couple who is on their vacation in Hawaii, and then two girls came up to them and was like, oh, show me the island, sir. And so they decide to take this girls out to an unknown island where people get lost there, supposedly. And while they're there, they meet another couple there. So it's like the six of them, they've invited them, so they're all hanging out. And then they meet another random guy, and then they were like, we don't want him here. I don't know why they accepted the couple so easily, but then was wary of the guy, but they didn't want him here. Shit start going down, people start dying, people start fighting. I will say again, and this has nothing to do with the type of book. I knew it was a thriller because I've read another book by the author. But I'm not the biggest fan of being stuck on an island and stuff going down. I know some people like it and it's not for everyone, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. And so it wasn't bad, actually. Like, the book itself was written good, and I was like, okay, there's thrill to it. I was into it. I gave it a 4, I think, on Goodreads, and that's actually really high for them being on the island the whole time. That's high for me because I'm not a fan of like the whole Castaway kind of vibe. And so it wasn't bad in here. Like, some of the girls were messy. Yeah, there was like one situation in here that happened, and I was like, oh, I would never. You couldn't catch me forgiving you for doing some bullshit like that in my face. But anywho, So I had not the funnest time reading these, but not every book is going to be a 5-star. Not every book is meant to be the best book you've ever read. Sometimes you just need a book to just read a book. You know what I mean? And I will say, what I love about reading books is no matter the type of book, no matter how it's written, there's sometimes a word in there that I don't always know and I have to look up, and I've now learned a new word. And that's what I appreciate and love about reading. So I am grateful that I actually do enjoy reading. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but you win some, you lose some. None of them were bad enough to DNF, but you win some, you lose some. All right, well, that is all. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them. If you're interested in reading them, I would say, you know, go in with the mindset that they are not, you need to know the backstory of the book, I feel like. Because again, this one I think threw me off the most, because I was just seeing people talk about it and they were like, oh my God, it is so good and it is so great and I love that book. Oh, and all I knew about it was that it was a thriller, and I was like, oh, okay, this is about to thrill the fuck out of me. Like, I'm gonna enjoy this so much. Wasn't the case, but that's because I was like, this is so unserious. So if I had known, it would have been different. You know, it would have been different. So yeah, that is all I'm gonna blab your ear off about. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Bye.